morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Thursday, the 2nd of July, 2026. And yes, we are living in kabuki theater, a clown world, a matrix, a facade, a make-pretend world. And guess what, campers? You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Thursday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, with the facts. And if the facts make you exclaim, what the WTF? Well, then so be it. It's not like we don't have enough reason, and darn good reasons. And as they say, the truth is never easy to find. So with that, I have to ask you listeners, how easy is it for you to sit in your armchair or at your couch and channel surf through the alphabet networks to get yourself informed? Yeah. And then the opinions that you create, if your opinions are based upon misinformation, disinformation, or lies, then your opinions are extensions of the lies. This is common sense, folks. This is not rocket science. And unfortunately, all of us, every single one of us, from our very birth, has been fed a line of horse hockey, snake snot, bull crap, whatever you want to call it. So this creates a challenge for each and every one of us, because occasionally we come across information that challenges our schema of the world. And yeah, that's a tough obstacle to overcome, because when you have a long-held belief and you come across information that challenges your belief, your first reaction is to go, no, that couldn't be true. No. And that's where ego and pride comes in. And unfortunately, ego and pride basically rule a lot of people's psyches, like Mark Twain said, or Samuel Clemens. He said it's always easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. And so this is the main obstacle that we have to overcome, not just as Americans, but as humanity, because we've been living in a matrix our entire lives. So anyway, in an effort to undo this, to shed light, and that's, I don't know, they say that truth is hate to those who hate the truth. So there's a price to pay when you shed light. But you know what? There are a lot of us out there, and our numbers are growing. They're growing by leaps and bounds. And the matrix is under a lot of pressure right now. So, all right, where do I start today? There's a lot of stuff to cover. Let me see. Why don't I start off with a clip from Tucker Carlson? Yeah. Because there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. A lot of people are really, really disgusted with the way things are going with our political systems in this country, and indeed around the world. You know, I mean, we have a lot of Democrats out there, that former Democrats, that have abandoned the Democratic Party. You know, there's the walk away campaign, and there's a lot of people out there that say, I can no longer support the Democrats. They're crazy. And now there are a lot of people who are abandoning the Republican Party as well. Now, keep in mind that the Republican Party today is not the same Republican Party we had 10 years ago when Trump was, going into his first term. The Republican Party has completely shifted, or at least, I'm not saying the Republicans, the people that call themselves Republicans. I'm talking about the direction that the party has taken by itself. And the same thing could be said about the Democratic Party. And I've seen this evolution for decades now. I mean, for instance, going all the way back when I became an activist, back in the late 80s, early 90s, George Bush Sr., the Gulf War, Norman Schwarzkopf, Colin Powell, et cetera, and I was speaking out against that, so I guess I was labeled as a left-wing extremist. Yeah. And then after George Bush Sr. was defeated in the election between himself and Ross Perot, remember him? Oh, they came so close to establishing a third party, and I will be addressing third-party issues in just a few moments. But the bottom line here is that, Bill Clinton got in there. And then while the rest of the world was consuming the intellectual fecal matter that was being shoved down their throat, remember the Monica Lewinsky and the cigar and, the scandalous, scurrilous, news reports about Bill Clinton. And while the whole world was consuming all that stuff, I was screaming about the Chinagate issue because Clinton was selling our secrets to China for political support. Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Okay. And so then I was labeled as a right-wing extremist. And then when George Bush Jr. got in there and the 9/11 thing, and I was screaming about that, and the Project for the New American Century and what happened at the Pentagon. And I'm very well documented and on the record. All you got to do is go back and take a look at my documentaries. You can find them at DaveVonKleist.com. Go to the 9/11 issue, button there. And you got links to to both of the documentaries about 9/11 I produced. And during that period of time, again, I was labeled as a left-wing extremist. So the point is that the parties have evolved, and they are not representing the will of the people. And I don't care if you're conservative or liberal. More and more people are having absolute disgust over the two-party system. We keep on hearing about, two wings of the same bird. How many decades have we been listening to that? And I was even screaming about that 20 years ago. There's a song that I did 20 years ago, and what I'm going to do, hold on a second here, I'm going to turn that down. I want to fast forward to one particular verse here. Here it is. Let's see. Listen to this verse here. This is 20 years ago, folks. Here it is.
There are 20,000 laws that Congress passes every year to keep us free.
Yeah, do more laws make more freedom?
And each one is a link that forms a chain around your life that you can't see.
I rest my case. And listen to this.
When you support the Republicans, Republicrats too, they represent the corporations because that's what they're paid to do. And they hope they'll get support from you, but they will never get support from me.
Okay, so when you support the Republicans, Republicrats too, they represent the corporations because that's what they're paid to do. Yeah, there's those three magic words.
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Bribery, otherwise known as lobbying. Well, like I said, a lot of Americans are no longer on board with any of this horse hockey, this snake snot, the bull crap, etc., etc. And here's Tucker Carlson. I accidentally turned that whole channel down. Hold on a second. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party.
Let's start it again.
I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do. But at this point, how could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States?
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right. Now, he was being not interviewed, but critiqued by Cenk Unger and on the Young Turks program. And I don't always agree with what's put on the Young Turks. As a matter of fact, 5 or 6 years ago, I saw them as extreme leftists. But like I said, the parties evolve. So let's listen to what he and Anna Kasparian have to say in regard to Tucker Carlson's admission he can no longer support the Republican Party. And he sure as heck isn't going to be a Democrat. So, oh dear, what do we do?
That's Tucker Carlson leaving the Republican Party today. But he's not the only one. Another giant figure joined on right afterwards. Anna, tell us about it.
Well, there is another giant figure who has vocally announced that she will no longer be part of the Republican Party. But I'm going to keep teasing you with that and show you a little more of what Tucker had to say first, because it is informative in regard to what is convincing Americans across the political spectrum to abandon their previously preferred political parties. More from Tucker.
How could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States, that puts the interests of a foreign country above those of its own citizens? That's it's not possible to vote for people like that, and I'm not going to. And I think,
okay, I'm going to pause it. I wonder what other country he's talking about. I'll give you one guess.
I voted Republican my entire life. I worked at Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I've been a consistent defender for 35 years of the Republican Party. I mean, very consistent defender. But there's no defending this because it's immoral, and it's exactly the opposite of what a political party in a democracy is charged with doing, which is representing its own voters, its own citizens, its own nation. And they're not doing that. So no, I'm out. And if I'm out, then I think a lot of other people are out.
I don't think he's wrong about that. In fact, soon after that was announced, Marjorie Taylor Greene posted the following: Tucker is not the only one who is done supporting the Republican Party. There is a lot of us that are absolutely fed up and will not support a party that betrays its voters and country. That does not mean we are turning into Democrats either, but we are done with the America Last Republican Party. So I can't tell you guys how much that resonates with me, but in the opposite direction, right? So under Biden, and after witnessing what the Democratic Party was willing to aid and abet in Gaza, I can't support that party. And honestly, the Biden administration is representative of the mainstream Democratic Party. So I'm not a registered Democrat. I'm now a registered independent. And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, if you don't support the Democrats, that must mean that you're a secret Republican. No, I loathe the Republican Party as well, big time. And so the largest voting bloc at this point in this country, registered independents.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. This is really important, folks, because what's happening, turn the clock back 30 years or 35 years. You know, like I said, when George Bush Sr. was up for re-election, he was up against Bill Clinton and Ross Perot. Now, Ross Perot was making huge waves in the political system here in this country. As a matter of fact, so many people were behind Ross Perot, he gained 19% of the popular vote. Now, if he'd gotten one more percentile, his independent party would have established itself as a permanent party. But he missed it by 1%, by one measly percent. Well, like I said, there are so many people that are looking askance at the Democratic and the Republican Party. I have a feeling that this is a time right now when a third party can very possibly happen. Now, as a matter of fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene was being interviewed by Piers Morgan, and she had the following to say. Let's see. Oh, what do you what? No, I'm supposed to. No. Okay, this is wanting me to sign in before. No, I already did that. Why is it doing this to me? They've changed a lot of the algorithms here. Let me see if I can't cue it up another way. Let's see here. Bang. Let's do it this way. Okay. And okay, here it is.
If we decide to align, we could launch a true America-focused party that doesn't fall into the traps of Democrats and Republicans, but could align some serious players from the right and the left and move forward. But Piers, I'm also very realistic because I was in the system. I've served in Congress. I've run campaigns. I know what it takes. It's difficult to launch a third party. So the reality is this isn't something that gets off the ground in just a couple of campaign cycles. This is a movement that has to be developed and would take time to develop. I'm not sure where that is right now, but I am in talks with people, and there are serious conversations happening, looking at what are the mechanics of that and the reality of it. But Piers, I'll also say this is it's going to take the American people to get involved, and the American people are the ones that really push campaigns. And so if the American people truly want to give a strong challenge to the failed two-party system of America, then they're going to have to step up, because it's not going to be a couple of players like Tucker and I and a few others that can roll up our sleeves and get this done. It's going to take a serious effort from everyone. Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now, they're all obviously talking about a third party. Now, let me turn the clock back. We'll go back again to the 90s, okay? And remember Ron Paul? Yeah, he was a libertarian for many years. But unfortunately,
Americans have this false concept here about voting. And if you don't vote within the confines of the two-party system, then you're throwing your vote away. Yeah, that's the way it is. You know, if you don't vote Republican, then the Democrats will win. We don't want that, so you have to vote Republican. All right? And this is why Ron Paul couldn't gain traction, because unfortunately that mentality has permeated the entirety of the American populace. Now, to me, any vote that doesn't represent your heart is a wasted vote. That's the way I see it. Okay? And I've voted independent many, many years. Okay, I don't care if people say you're throwing away your vote. No. If everybody would vote their heart, that is a real vote. You don't vote for one party because you hate the other. We keep on hearing, it's the lesser of two evils. When you vote for the lesser of two evils, you still end up with evil. So there is a chance. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. When we hear people like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and many, many others who are saying the same thing. We are disgusted with the two-party system. So we have to start thinking about a third party. Again, I go back to Ron Paul. He was a libertarian, and unfortunately, he knew doggone well that if he tried to run as a libertarian on the presidential ticket, that he would lose. So that's why Ron Paul decided to join the Republican Party. And oh my goodness, I don't know if you remember in 2008, at that particular time, I was still doing the Power Hour. I had a big 40-foot conversion bus, and I was driving all over the country. And as I was driving around the country, I saw billboards, buttons, tent cards. Everybody was going for Ron Paul. Ron Paul for president. Ron Paul. I saw it everywhere. And then came the debate on Fox News. And I remember, I forget who it was that was hosting it. Fox News, who was that? Moderating. And it doesn't make any difference, but they left a microphone open on purpose. And when the topic of the IRS and the Federal Reserve came on, and of course Ron Paul is against the Federal Reserve, he wants to audit the Federal Reserve, he wanted to do away with the IRS, and the open mic of the Fox commentators were they were laughing at him. And that was done on purpose. So the point is that, yeah, they did everything that they could to keep Ron Paul from getting the population behind him. And, of course, the same thing happened in 2012 when Ron Paul ran again. But the bottom line here is I think America's heart is with Ron Paul. I mean, now that he's out of politics, a lot of people refer, what would Ron Paul say? You know, Ron Paul would never have done this. We keep hearing that over and over and over again. That's because people are starting to think outside of the political cage. And now, again, we hear Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and many others are basically saying, look, we've had it up to our eyeballs with this two-party, two wings of the same bird bill crap. We're not going to go put up with this anymore. So here's Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, what are we going to do? How do we get a new party started? How do we establish a third party? We all know that you got to have 20% of the popular vote to establish a third party. Well, guess what? The third party's already there. It's been sitting there all this time. It's been sort of sleeping because so many Americans have just been, ignoring the third party because of what I was telling you before. If you don't vote for the Republicans, then you're going to get the Democrats. And the Democrats, if you don't vote for the Democrat, you're going to get a Republican. They keep voting for the lesser of two evils. Maybe now is the time that Americans can finally break through that particular illusion, that cage that keeps them from thinking outside of the box or outside of the cage. Maybe now's the time where people could say, "Oh, look, wait a second. There's a libertarian party. Oh my, what would happen if Marjorie Taylor Greene and if Tucker Carlson and if Candace Owens, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. I mean, what if Republicans and Democrats all came together and said, hey, screw the Democratic Party, screw the Republican Party. We're done with this crap. We can work together and straighten this stuff out. Let's all go libertarian. It's just something to think about. I just thought I'd throw that out there. So Anyway, and now's the time, like I said, people are starting to really pay attention to politics, and well, they should. It's about freaking time. People, for years and years and years, we've been conditioned to think that polite conversation should never include religious or political talk. Well, that only guarantees stagnation. Wouldn't you agree? Turn the clock back 200 or 300 years before we had a free press. How did information travel from one community to another? Well, people would travel from one town to another, and they would sit around the pub and talk about stuff. Yeah, because people would actually talk about important issues. But now we've been brainwashed not to do that. No. I was at the VFW. This is going back a year or two ago, and the subject came up about George Bush Sr. and the Gulf War, and so I was starting to talk because I happen to be pretty well informed about that particular issue. And somebody spoke up and says, "Hey, let's not even go there. Let's not talk about that." And again, I'm at the VFW. I'm talking to veterans. And somebody says, "Hey, we shouldn't be talking about that stuff. Somebody's going to get pissed off." Yeah. And I was gobsmacked. We can't talk about past political issues at a VFW? Oh, man, that made my blood boil. But anyway, there's something else that happened here. And I just found out about this. Apparently something happened several weeks ago that we were never told. The mainstream media hasn't told us anything about this topic. Listen to this.
I think Mitch McConnell might actually be dead. So this is from 1 hour ago. Senator Mitch McConnell found unconscious when rushed to hospital. This is July 1st, 11:12 a.m.
Okay, on July 1st, that was only a couple days ago, this news story happened to hit the airwaves. Okay? However,
Medical paramedic agent 3, medic 3, ALS response unconscious.
The senator was reportedly found unconscious when he was rushed to the hospital. McConnell lost consciousness at his home in Washington, D.C. on the morning of June 14th. Okay, so this was...
June 14th is when this happened, and it wasn't reported until a couple weeks after.
Weeks ago.
16 days ago, after a 911 call was made. TMZ reported a rep from McConnell said the senator was receiving excellent care.
In heaven.
Yeah. Look, I think he might be, dead.
So the question is, if Mitch McConnell dies, it now would be a opportunity for Thomas Massie to take that senator seat.
Kaboom! Kaboom! Now, why? Why do you suppose that they didn't report this issue? If Mitch McConnell collapsed and was found unconscious, and at this point that would be 2.5 weeks ago, why is it that it took that long for it to hit the airwaves? Why would they hold back on that? Maybe, just maybe, it's because of what you just heard. Maybe that opens up the door for Thomas Massie to jump in there and grab that Senate seat. That would be interesting. But anyway, getting back to this issue about a third party, you stop and think about how many of the podcasters who are out there that have similar feelings, a love loss of the two parties. Can you imagine what would happen if all of a sudden you had, Kim Iverson and Eric Moutsos and Ian Carroll and Whitney Webb and, all of these talking heads, Clayton Morris, from Redacted. What would happen if all of a sudden all of these podcasters started talking about a third party and maybe going libertarian, abandoning the two-party system? I think that the only obstacle to keep that from happening would be the corrupted voting machines. What do you think? Okay, I'm just throwing these ideas out here. Oh, Dave, you're crazy. Okie dokie. Anyway, let me see. What else is there going on? Oh, yeah. What's his face? Okay. Major Jason Watson, Air Force, a longtime veteran. He stood on the Capitol steps and was calling for the impeachment, the removal of office, and the conviction of the President and Vice President of the United States. Of course, he was immediately arrested. He sacrificed his entire military career, and I think he's going to be in trouble. But I think he also was expressing the sentiments of a lot of Americans. They have had it. We're done. You know? Anyway, let me see. I've got a bunch of other... I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a quick break. And by the way, if you want to join the conversation, I want to remind you, I had a caller yesterday that just didn't get it. When you call into the show, you listen to the phone. You do not listen to your computer or your device or whatever you're listening to this broadcast on. If you're going to call in, you have to listen to the phone because there's like a 10-second difference, and I can say, "Hi, welcome to the show." And you won't hear that for 10 seconds. So listen to the phone when you call in. The number here is 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-867-8255. What do you think about the possibility of a third party and the Libertarian Party jumping on board? I'd love to hear from you. Again, 215-867-8255.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and it'll take you to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and read all the specifications and details about how this fuel catalyst works. Yes, it's not a fuel additive, it's a catalyst. It makes your fuel burn much more efficiently. Your engine gets more power. It's running cleaner, which is good for the environment. And the kicker here is after a couple of tanks, your engine adjusts and starts to give you better mileage. You will see an improvement in your mileage, anywhere between 15-20%, depends upon your make, model, year of vehicle, how you drive, etc. But you will start to see an improvement in your mileage, which means money in your pocket. You will save a gobsmack of money. Spend $20, you get 5 tablets. And if you start to see anywhere between 15 and 20% improvement of your mileage, that's money in your pocket. So it doesn't make sense not to use it. Absolutely. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. Okay, it's about 34 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And yeah, there's so much going on in this country. I got to tell you, it's never a dull moment. It's like watching a never-ending soap opera. Every day, you know, at first when you're watching, you know, world affairs, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like to watch politics. It's depressing. It's this." And yeah, I'll get it. I get that. Yeah, it is. But once you get over that hump, once you get past this thing about, oh, gosh, I'm only one person, my vote doesn't count, you can't fight City Hall, you know, the brainwashing that we've all been subjected to our entire lives. Once you start getting past that, I see this whole thing playing out like a big soap opera. I see it playing out like a Matrix, just like in the movie Matrix, a non-reality. This is all for your consumption, to keep you scared, to keep you sad, to keep you angry, to keep you in all these negative thoughts, hopelessness, you know, all this stuff. And those negative thoughts perpetuate the negativity. So that's why I was saying, you know, try to stay on top of this and try to look at this as entertainment, because that's what I see it as. You know, I'm watching all this stuff go down, and I shake my head and say, oh boy, It's it is. It's entertainment. So anyway, let's see. Charlie Kirk is, he's back in the news. A lot of people now are taking a real good hard look at what happened with Charlie. And the more they look, the more they start to realize that the official narrative is bull crap. And they know, and the powers that be know it. They're not going to get away with this. They are not. And they're also starting to realize what entity was going to benefit by Charlie's demise. And that's a no-brainer as well. Anyway, here's a quick comment from Charlie Kirk.
How many of you guys think when a lawmaker, and a man I respect like Ted Cruz, uses the Bible to justify aid to Israel, doesn't even know the verse, do you guys think that's not the best way to approach this? Raise your hand. Okay.
I think Ted Cruz used Genesis 12:3. I think a lot of people see that as off-putting when you look at the New Testament.
Why?
Because I think a lot of people, they look especially at the writings of Paul, where he talks about how the new flesh is not the same as the people in the Old Covenant. The new flesh is everybody, everyone's included.
You're talking about Romans 9?
Yes, 9:6, yeah.
Are you Catholic?
Converting to Catholic from Judaism.
I can tell.
This is my next
slide. Oh, from Judaism?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you're ethnically Jewish.
Ethnically Jewish, yes.
And you have concerns about AIPAC.
Yes, I do.
I'm told that by some people that if I criticize AIPAC, I'm anti-Semitic.
I think it's ridiculous, yeah. I feel like it's great to have a concern for your country.
Do you think that that AIPAC represents, again, I'm not saying I believe this, but I think this is what you're saying, that it represents a kind of cutting in line of prioritization away from the American people?
Yes.
Would you guys say that's a fair summary? 100%. Meaning that, okay, we vote, we're citizens, but a separate group gets higher priority because of whatever reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and so this whole issue about AIPAC is it's really on the front burner. There are more and more people that are saying they will never, ever, ever vote for AIPAC. I mean, for well, yeah. If you vote for any one of your mainstream candidates, yeah, you're voting for AIPAC because the mainstream candidates have been paid off by AIPAC. And let me see, I had a clip in here. Let me see, where is it? Oh, by the way, I got to tell you that next week, yeah, this is going to be a first. Next week, I will be starting the first video version of the WTF reports. So hopefully we'll get that posted, and this is going to be a game changer, folks. It really is. So anyway, back to Charlie Kirk. Let's see. Okay, I'll just play this.
Because you know you are part of something bigger than yourself. You know that you are part of the most exciting, diverse, powerful movement in the history of this country. And this movement is not about Republican or Democrat. This movement is not about conservative or liberal.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see that on display in a little bit, just maybe. This movement is about the citizens versus the oligarchs. This movement is about we the people versus the ruling class. This movement is about America versus the globalists. This movement is about all of us against them.
Bingo! Now, do you understand why this third-party issue is maybe ripe? That's what he was saying. And I have to tell you, like I said, there are more and more people who are disgusted with both parties. And here's a bunch of clips here. Of course, was it Ben Gvir was saying that, oh no, it wasn't Ben Gvir. Oh gosh, I'm having a senior moment here. The point is, though, is that more and more people are starting to realize that the two-party system has failed them. Anyway, let's go to the phones here. Okay, hello, caller. Let me see. Looks like that's Mike. Is that Mike?
Tis Mike.
Tis Mike. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Just wanted to help you out here. The third party, unfortunately, is the Democratic Socialist Party. And all the people that have been indoctrinated, remember, it's been decades of people going to college and being indoctrinated into it. And I remember when my stepson was in college, he went through it and he refused to become indoctrinated, and they kicked him out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they kicked him out of school. He wanted, you know, he believed in God. He believed in Jesus. He believed that everything they were doing was wrong, and he refused to take part in it.
Mm-hmm.
Good boy. But anyways, the third party, I don't think it's going to be libertarian. But I do think that something is happening. What is it now? 28 Democrats have decided not to follow the party.
Right.
What is that right? What's the number?
I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but I heard that too. That sounds to be about right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great start. It's got to happen. I miss Charlie Kirk. That was, you know, so important to have Charlie Kirk, and they took him out because he was teaching everybody, and he was gaining some power there.
Well, he was drawing attention to the overwhelming influence that Israel has in our government with both parties. He refused to take all that money because Bibi Netanyahu offered him, what was it, $50 million or something like that to go into the TPUSA, and he turned it down. You know, and he, you know, in his last year before he was taken out, he had made many, many references to the lobbyists, to the influence, and to the fact that if he spoke out against the genocide in Palestine, he was being labeled as an anti-Semite. And with that, I would suggest that for all the folks out there that are saying that it's anti-Semitism, you know, there are a lot of Jewish folks out there that are condemning Bibi, the Knesset, and the actions of Israel. They want nothing to do with the state of Israel. And those Jews are the human shields for the Zionist operations. You know, so there's a lot of Jews who feel threatened by the actions of Israel right now. And I think that they're correct.
All right, I got to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Democrats are making, you know, are against the Jews, you know. What, you know, you're trying to expose the situation where the Jews are in control of the United States, which is all scriptural.
Well, I'm saying the Zionists are. And by the way, I wouldn't go so far as to say the Democrats are against the Jews, because overwhelmingly, historically, Jewish folks have been Democrats. I mean, it's been that way for years and years and years.
Yeah, but all you hear the Democrats, you know, talking about it.
Well, we do now. Well, that's why I was saying in the beginning of this broadcast that the parties are shifting. They shift. I mean, the Democratic Party today is not the same Democratic Party of 10 years ago, and the same can be said about the Republican Party. They've been shifting, and people are having an identity crisis, which is why I'm saying, hey, is there a possibility that the two of the disenfranchised Republicans and Demopublicans might jump on board with the Libertarian Party, which already exists? You don't have to form a third party. It's already there. So what would happen if the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens and the Joe Rogans and the Tulsi Gabbards and the RFK Juniors and the Thomas Massies and the MTGs, what if all these people flipped a middle finger to the two parties and said, hey, guess what? We're libertarian. We are libertarian. That might be a force to be reckoned with.
I don't think they're going to go libertarian. I think they're going to form something new. I think you're going to see something morph out of this.
Well, maybe so, but it's going to be a whole lot harder to form another third party than to just basically join and commandeer the Libertarian Party. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I mean, the Libertarian Party's just basically been in the background for the past 20 years. Nobody talks about them because they got no clout. But if all of a sudden all of these major figures in politics were to jump on board with the Libertarian Party, that would be a fireworks show.
Well, I think you're going to see something happen, and it's going to be huge, and it's going to be something. Well, actually, in the history, there were dramatic party shifts.
Mm-hmm.
You go back before the Civil War, and that you know, there were huge party shifts. So it is historical that something big can happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, at this point, you know, millions and millions and millions of Americans are disgusted with Israel and with what their genocide is doing, with their land grabs, this Greater Israel project. I mean, like I was saying, this past weekend, Israel started bombing Syria. So it's not just Gaza. It's not just southern Lebanon. Now they're going after Syria, and they're saber-rattling and saying we may have to go to war with Turkey and with Egypt. You know, I mean, people have had it. They've had it up to their eyeballs with this Israel issue. And for those out there who continue to support Israel, I don't know what to tell you. You're either been subjected to, like I said, those three magic words: bribery, coercion, or blackmail. Now, maybe you're brainwashed, maybe you're just stupid, or maybe you're complicit with their crimes. But more and more people are starting to look at Israel and say, look, I don't want to have any part of this, and it's got nothing to do whatsoever with anti-Semitism. So, I don't know.
You know what you got to do? You got to go to your window, open your window, stick your head out the window and yell,
I'm mad as hell.
3, 2, 1. I'm
mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's right. That's right. You know, I think I mentioned yesterday on the show that Eric Motsas played that video clip from the movie Network, and maybe I'll pull that up and play that. Because tomorrow, what I'm going to do, tomorrow is July 3rd, and in celebration of our independence, I'm going to share the Declaration of Independence, which, by the way, 25 years ago, what's the sheriff's name in Arizona? Joe Arpaio, okay? And he was investigating the birth certificate of Barack Obama. But before that before that controversy, I remember I was down there in Arizona with a whole bunch of patriots, and we had this patriot gathering, and they were passing out pocket constitutions, the Citizens Rule Book. And Joe Arpaio said that we were passing out radical anti-government materials. So I'm going to read tomorrow the radical anti-government material, this document called the Unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. I will read the Declaration of Independence tomorrow in celebration.
My favorite reading is it the Declaration of Independence? By Red Skelton.
Yes.
People don't even remember what a patriot he was.
No, it wasn't the Declaration. It was the Pledge of Allegiance that he did.
Whichever he did. I don't care if you get a strike. Maybe you can play that.
Well, let me see if I can't find it.
Sure, it's out there. I don't know what's going to happen with copyright, but we got to see if we can play that. I'll ask my buddy AI. So
okay.
Find out if we can do it.
So you're not...
Because,
okay, go ahead.
Because the patriotism in this country, and I know I'm changing the direction, but it's just all screwed up. You know?
Mm-hmm.
My state, Connecticut, did not go to the country fair in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Did not go. Refused to because they don't like the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
What? It's not what it was about, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And did you know that the federal government is auditing the finances of Massachusetts and Connecticut?
Yes, I heard about that. Oh boy, that should be fun. My gosh.
You know, they look for the dirt, they get the dirt, and they shut up because someone threatens to kill them if they make it public.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we come to those three magic words.
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
And by the way, listeners, if you'd like to get a T-shirt with those three magic words on there, we've got them at TheWTFReports.com. So if you'd like to support the broadcast, pick up a T-shirt with those three magic words, or you can get a baseball cap or a T-shirt or a coffee coffee mug with the logo, TheWTFReports.com. So help us out with that.
We also have Red Pill 101.
Oh yeah, Red Pill 101. So
yep.
Anyway, I found Red Skelton. I got it queued up here, ready to roll anytime you're ready. So
go ahead.
Anyway,
you have time?
Yeah, there's enough time for it. Sure, why not? Here's Red Skelton's Pledge of Allegiance.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester. And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance. Under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Wow. Isn't that, how prophetic was that? Because that's exactly what happened. Unbelievable. Are you still there, Mike?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, very good. Amazing.
Yeah, removed from the schools. That's, oh my God. He said it.
Yes, he did.
What year was that?
I don't know. I mean, the Red Skelton show was on in the 60s, but he was basically he was referring to when he was a boy before Hawaii and Alaska had become states. So that's why he said the 48 states. But
right.
But you know, and I can't help but say, you know, this whole thing about, you know, us being united. We're all, you know, America and the world is watching the World Cup right now. And, of course, we have in our own country, we've got all of our pro sports. We got baseball. We just came out of the NBA finals, and the Knicks won. And, we're going to be starting the football season. Let me ask you, listeners out there, how many of these professional sports teams participate in racism? They don't give a crap if you're black or white, or whatever. They're on the team. They play to win. And they join together. Why the heck, as Americans, why can't we understand that concept? Why is it we get played against one another? Why is it we've got black against white, against Hispanics, against Orientals? Just one division after another, and people keep going for it. We have to understand that we've all been played to work against each other. And this has been going on for, since the dawn of humanity. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. We're all being played. But if we all had the same attitude as the FIFA Cup teams, or your basketball team, or your football team, or your baseball team, or whatever team that you want to talk about, if racism is the priority, you're destined to lose. If division is the priority, you're destined to lose. So when do we finally come around to that concept and understand that we've been played against one another, and the powers that be, the elitists, the globalists, whatever you want to call them, they are scared to death if all of a sudden all of Americans started to realize that we have a common enemy. Like Sun Tzu said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Put our differences aside and understand that there are powers that be that want to kill us. They want us off the map so that they can have the entire world as their playground. And until we understand that and cleave to that particular notion, and if we continue to allow ourselves to be divided, we will lose our entire country. Indeed, the entire world will come under the subjugation of these monsters. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a rant there, but I mean, it's plain as the nose on your face. So, oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. All right. Well,
bye-bye.
Okay, Mike. Hey, thank you for drawing my attention to that Pledge of Allegiance by Red Skelton. That was a good thing to bring, and I was able to find it right away. So,
yeah.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you for your participation in this broadcast.
You're welcome.
All right. Talk to you again. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, time is gone. And as we got like about one more minute, here is Anna Kasparian and a whole bunch of other people basically voicing the same sentiment.
Preemptive nukes. We should do preemptive nukes. He's a freaking psychopath. These people are the most dangerous people in the world.
Why are we waiting to get hit? With me, I don't care if you start throwing nukes immediately.
Israel hasn't used everything that it has. We don't want the enemy to know what we are having. And now, at this point, we're just playing around.
It doesn't matter where they are. Even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall.
You will fall? You will fall. That's an ally?
We threaten to use unconventional weapons. I'll leave it at that.
Threaten to use nukes against the United States. These are not our allies. This has nothing to do with Jewish religion, Jewish identity. I don't give a damn about that. I couldn't care less. I really couldn't. It's like the most narcissistic thing in the world to think I'm sitting around obsessing over someone's identity. I don't care at all. What I care about is a foreign country sucking up our resources, committing genocide, committing ethnic cleansing, having blood on our hands because we aid and abet it, we fund it. And then after all of that, they have the audacity to threaten us with nukes. Where does Judaism come into that? It doesn't. It doesn't. But the Zionists know that. They know that. They like using Jewish people as human shields for their treachery. And it's not going to work with me. You can call me whatever you want, anything you want. I know the difference between right and wrong. And what you just saw on your screens is as wrong as it gets.
We can't wait for you to start to be true.
And that's exactly why I said that the Zionists are using the Jews as human shields. They do what they do, and if you don't like it, they call you an anti-Semite. It's not going to work anymore, folks. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the Thursday edition of the WTF Reports. If you're listening on Rumble, BitChute, Facebook, or YouTube, you know what to do. Click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, spread the word by word of mouth. It's the best advertising. And speaking of, do business with our advertisers. Help us to keep the lights on here. That said, it's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. So, until tomorrow, God bless you all. Stay safe. Stay free. And God willing, I'll see you tomorrow.